Alright, this is the account progress of our main account free-to-play that we've managed to build up in 68 days, which is 2 months and 7 days. We have managed to reach Katakuri at 11 star, as well as an Aokiji 10 star, because we are cursed with only getting Aokijis for Marines. So I ended up just building him up in the beginning because I needed the support, and then I just stuck with him because I got bombarded with his shards. We also now have our second core member built up, that is our Blackbeard New World. We then have an ace who's mainly there just for his passive of slowing down the enemy in the first few turns. So in the first 2 turns he actually slows down the enemy. We then have our Law who keeps our team alive, as well as a rather weak Jinbei in the front. The way that this team works is basically I have Katakuri as my core team member, who is really nice, really strong. He applies his stick emoji, the delayed, that counts as delayed damage, and he's able to spread up to like 30 or 34 of those stacks in the first round. Keep in mind that he deals 50% of his attack for each stack, so it's absolutely insane what he can dish out in damage. However, these damage marks only proc after 2 turns, and this is where Blackbeard comes into play, because Blackbeard New World actually detonates all of those marks with his turn 2. So if he is fast and goes directly behind Katakuri, Katakuri applies all of his marks in the first round. Blackbeard pretty much does the same, just his marks are weaker, and then Blackbeard detonates all of those marks in his turn 2. This is absolutely nice. I will just showcase this really quick here.
I then have my Aokiji, who is now sitting at 10 star. This is not my perfect option for the long run. However, for this very moment, he is actually super useful, as he does give some heal, and he also gives the pierce, which reduces the defense of my enemy team. Really cool to see this, and I might even do some theory crafting on this later. What I plan on doing is to actually replace Aokiji in the long run. You do this by going to the altar, then going on swap, clicking the character that you want to swap, and then you just have to put in 5 copies of the character that you want to have. For example, if I wanted to turn my 10-star Katakuri and switch him into a 10-star Sentomaru, I would only need 5 copies, the amount of copies of Sentomaru that I would need to make him 10-star anyway. I would put them in, and then I would actually trade my Aokiji for a 10-star Sentomaru. In order to do this, I will need the Power of Time, and you get this from the cross-server and the team-up arena shop. So right now I am able to buy another one of those Powers of Time. And this will allow me to target one 10-star Marine that I have enough copies of. That is my plan in the long run for replacing the Aokiji in this lineup, because he's not perfect. I haven't decided yet on which character to go for.
What we are also regularly using, and this might seem quite weird to you, is we're actually using a Kuru 4-star as well as a Wapol 4-star. We have put them to level 100 through the fruit resonance area, the devil fruit tree. We slotted them in here mainly because, and this is the only point why I'm using them, I use them in the guild instance. The reason why I'm doing that is, as you can see, if I put in my crew and I then swap out my Blackbeard because I don't need him in here, actually I can use him and replace the tank, because the tank is not going to add anything to this team here. And yeah, let's switch those around. What they are doing is actually really nice. I'm just going to show it to you, but I'm also using this Perona Ghost that deals percentage damage to the Guildboss. And what is happening here is super interesting, because both of those super weak characters that you can get for free immediately are applying a percentage damage debuff. Did you just see that? Kuro just did 190,000 damage to this Guildboss. That's absolutely insane. Then you saw Warple, he just did 380,000 damage to the Guildboss. That's nuts. And those are the main carries that you can get as a free-to-play player who deal massive damage to the Guildboss. It's amazing. And even though it wasn't a perfect round, Kuro was the main damage dealer here, even though I have an 11-star Katakuri in the lineup. You can see that our 4-star Kuro and our 4-star Warple just did as much damage as our Katakuri, who usually is the main carry of this team, and it wasn't even a perfect round because Kuro didn't apply his poison constantly. So yeah, definitely recommend doing this, and then afterwards you just sweep through it. The guild is one of the most important areas because of the guild skill that you do unlock, and this gives you huge stats for your characters, and this will boost your account's strength in the long run. Keep in mind that you can only have a 10-point disparity between those guild skills. So yeah, right now I will have to upgrade tanks before I can then push the guild skill level of my fighters even higher. You might have already wondered why I'm using the Blackbeard skill as opposed to the Aokiji skill that pretty much everyone is using. Aokiji is really nice because he applies a stun, or he has a chance to apply a stun, and he also increases the crit rate of your team when you get the skill level to 4. He then also improves the crit damage of your team, so it's a very damage heavy skill. However, what I want to go for is Blackbeard because of the dodge rate. He also gives crit resistance, which is very strong later on. However, right now I'm aiming for that dodge rate in order to be as annoying as possible, because Katakuri has a passive where he gets 15% dodge rate just by existing, and then he also increases the dodge rate of the entire Emperor team by 5%. Add Blackbeard's 10%, the skill, to this, so Katakuri automatically gets 25% dodge rate, the entire Emperor team gets 15% dodge rate. But it gets even better, because from Katakuri's passive, he can get up to 40% of dodge rate if he has enough stacks on the enemy team. So that adds up to a maximum of 55% dodge rate for your Katakuri. But wait, there is even more. If we get as annoying as possible, I might even at some point try out either a book or go for a talent in him that is superior dodge, because that would add another 14% of dodge rate, meaning he would have 14% plus 15 plus 10, meaning he's already at 39%. Then he gets up to 40%, so he can reach up to 79% dodge rate. I think that will be super annoying, and also since I plan on using Queen at some point, as soon as I am able to get him, Queen gets 25% dodge rate just by existing. Then he also gets 5% from Katakuri, meaning he's already at 30% flat. Then you get Blackbeard's skill, which is another 10%. So Queen is already at 40% base dodge rate, and then you can even add one of those Haki skills that I just showed, where you can actually push him to 54% flat dodge rate. Would be absolutely insane and super annoying to play against, so that's exactly what I plan on doing. For the next part, I'm going to jump a little bit back into the past and show you a little bit of the account progression that I've made over the past couple of weeks. So I'm actually going to go back to the time where I was still stuck at my Luffy 8 stars because I made a mistake in the beginning. I'm just going to show you how I rectified this eventually.
The next one being Jinbei. Jinbei is actually super cool, lucky in general because he keeps your team alive. However, my Jinbei is fairly weak right now. He's only at 8 stars in comparison to the rest of the team. I do still have the issue with my Luffy tying up the resources. I am missing 1 copy of Luffy in order to finally free myself of this annoyance and to be able to finally upgrade the other characters further. If I finally do get the resources back, I will then level up my Blackbeard to level 205, and this in turn then raises our Jinbei at least to level 205 as well.
A few moments later.
So today is the day where we finally got a copy of Luffy. That is exactly what was missing for this account for ages, because now I could finally 9-star him. That means I can finally use him as 9-star food. I never wanted to keep Luffy. It was the biggest mistake on my main account. However, we finally got him, and we actually got him by chance. I actually intended to get him through the shop in the score area. As you can see, I'm really close to be able to buy him from here, but now this enables us to progress further. Once we've gotten a little bit more food for our Blackbeard or another copy of Jinbei, we can finally 9-star or even 10-star them. And yeah, for now, however, I am going to push the level of my other characters by just investing my resources into Luffy, pushing our Jinbei and our Blackbeard finally again to level 205. This should boost our survivability and our combat power by a lot. And this leads us to the state of the account after 78 days of playing, which is pretty much 2.5 months. We are sitting at the Katakuri, who is our main carry, and everything revolves around his Sticky Mochi. Sticky Mochi is pretty much like delayed damage that you know from some emperors like Blackbeard. However, his delayed damage applies at 50% of his attack. That's one of the strongest leads in the game and really nice to play around. So he can actually apply up to 34 or 40 stacks in the first round. That's insane. So I want him to be as strong as possible, so he is equipped with a little bit of follow-up, so he just, after he kills someone, he does it again. I mainly have this for the utility of cleansing himself of debuffs. I really like this because he's kind of weak to debuffs. Then I also have an acceptable attack boost here. It's not the best, but it's fine. So he actually deals some extra damage. I mainly have this for the attack boost. I also have the physical combo on him. I'm looking to upgrade this one further because this is the most important thing, that he actually applies his Mochi again and again. So I really want to force this. Then I have Blackbeard. As you have seen earlier, those two together are the main combo because Katakuri applies up to 40 of his Sticky Mochi stacks in the first turn, and Blackbeard then detonates all of that in the second turn. I eventually want Blackbeard to be as quick as possible and a little bit quicker than Katakuri. I will go into that in another video, but Blackbeard doesn't deal a lot of damage on himself, but I don't need him to, so I have built him pretty much very tanky. I have like damage reduction on him so that he survives the first 2 rounds. I have some control resistance on him, and it's quite nice to have the magical combo on him as well, just to enable him to apply a little bit more of those nice stacks that also benefit Katakuri on his passive. I have the standard dexterity on him because I eventually want him to be quicker than my Katakuri. And the thing that I'm going to build up now for the short term, I mean, yeah, sure, still I have the Aokiji. I will be stuck with him for a while until I'm able to swap him out. But the next character that I'm building up is Luffy. It's not optimal, however, he will synergize well with his team for the short to medium term because he also does the delayed damage. He also has very high single target damage, which is something that I'm missing right now in the team. However, in the long run, I'm really looking forward to get one queen built up.
I want 5 copies of Queen because Queen is really nice in a synergy with Katakuri and Blackbeard. So there's 2 reasons for this. The one is that Blackbeard and Katakuri deal huge bursts together in the second turn, and if Queen attacks an enemy in turn 2 with his turn 2 skill and the enemy is below 50%, Queen then applies the ice only effect, and that is absolutely insane because it deals an insane amount of damage, which is 600% of his attack power after 3 turns, which kind of works like the delayed damage, so it's also thematically fitting, but I mainly want him there because of this insane synergy and the huge damage. And he also synergizes very well with Katakuri because of his dodge chance that I mentioned earlier. So he will actually be sitting at something between 40 and 54% dodge rate permanently, making him super hard to kill and turning him into a really nice tank. And yeah, then later I would really like in the long run to get one Lord Wano, because with his turn 1 skill he will actually be able to spread the sticky mochi of Katakuri even more. That would be nice. And then for the final touch I will want one supporter, which will either be Sengoku, which would be a nice candidate to collect copies from and actually switch out with my Aokiji that I'm stuck with at the moment, mainly because I want someone in the team that boosts attack. And yeah, Sengoku does that really nice, really well. The other character that would be fine for this as well would be Marco. I would really like Marco because he increases the attack permanently, so more often he does it in round 1, he does it in round 3, and so he just keeps that 25% buff of attack constantly up. That's really cool. However, Marco will be very expensive for me to build up because I am free to play, and yeah, building an entire team of emperors is cool, but it's also going to be really, really annoying and hard to star all of them up. So yeah, that is the account that I'm going for. That is my long-term strategy. I actually deviated from this earlier. I thought that I would be going for an entire delayed damage build. However, after speaking with some of the veteran players of this game, they actually told me that this will not be worth it and that it's actually not too good. So yeah, I'm going to go for this in the medium term by bringing up Luffy New World a little bit further, and then eventually, once I get a few copies of Queen, I will pivot into my long-term strategy.